Geekazine's special coverage of HP Discover 2011 is brought to you by Iolo System Mechanic. Go over and use the code Geekazine for up to 50% off System Mechanic 10. And Wirecast. Produce all your video straight from your computer right to the internet with Wirecast. Go over to geekazine.com and click on the link. Of course, Geekazine is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. Over at techpodcast.com. If it's tech, then it's here. All right, continuing coverage of HP Discover. Jeffrey Powers here. We've got Les Stuart here, and I met him in Interop about 3-4 weeks ago, and I helped him create his first Twitter account, which is
Netman Les.
Netman Les, yes. And he got into Twitter, and now he's a tweeting fool out on Twitter. Netman Les.
You know what? Be gentle with me because I am still new.
Yeah.
I just was informed today that I need to get an avatar, so people know that I'm not trying to spam them.
Okay.
But I am embracing this new form of communication and media, and it's going pretty good so far.
So if anybody wants to create a avatar for Les, that of course it's got to look like Les, so people know who it is. Feel free to do so. You can tweet them at NetmanLess and go from there. It's actually a perfect segue in what we're going to talk about because it's new technology or converging new technology. And we're talking about the future of technology, the future of network management for that matter.
Yep.
Now you guys, you did a little presentation there today at the keynote. What was that about really quick?
Well, that was showing off IMC, Intelligent Management Center, which is a new version that we've released that really just changes the game as far as management. Because traditional management has been focused around switching and routing. And then you might have another management system for your servers and another one for your storage, another one for voice, another one for wireless, and this and that. And what IMC is part of the whole converged infrastructure initiative, and it converges management as well.
Okay.
So from IMC's single pane of glass, or from IMC's user interface, you can plug in voice functionality, wireless management, VPN management, traffic analysis, SLA, QoS, and the list of technologies and service modules goes on and on. So that from a single console, you have management of your converged infrastructure in a very cost-effective and more efficient manner.
Just kind of like this when I'm switching between cameras and stuff like that, all on one machine. It's smooth. Like I do a couple clicks and I go from there, and that's
Exactly.
what you want to do on an infrastructure level.
Exactly. Imagine if, in order to do what you're doing right here and now with me, you had to jump between 4 different laptops in order to achieve this and to put this together. And the interface was different on each laptop.
Yeah.
You know? Wow. That is not efficiency. You might get the job done, but the guy over there is going to get it done a lot faster. Yeah. And I've come up with this new term. Actually, it's not mine, but I heard if you use it 3 times, you get to claim it. All right, so this is the 3rd time, and I'm claiming it. Mean time to innocence, MTTI.
Okay.
All right, that's what, unfortunately, that's what a lot of IT organizations are looking for, because when anything goes wrong, voice, wireless, data, server, anything goes wrong, first finger is pointed to is IT, right? So what's important for them is how fast is that time to innocence, mean time to innocence. And when you can correlate information and perform your operations functions effectively and efficiently, your mean time to innocence improves greatly.
That's a very good point, especially 5 years, 5 years ago, somewhere around there, we went and added so much more. We added the voice. We went from PBX systems to IP, voice over IP systems. We all of a sudden we're getting into video conferencing, video data, video this and that or the other thing, and you just got to make it all work at the same level at the same time.
Exactly, and there's another factor, really huge, present here and now, but I'll come back to that in a second. But what you're talking about is the demands on IT. to deliver services. And that demand has just done nothing but gone up since the days of ArcNet, and and we're pulling coax cable, and it is still just continues to go up and up and up and up and up.
Exactly.
But yet the resources and budget to accommodate that, it hasn't gone up proportionately.
Okay.
So as one of the speakers at the keynote said today, IT is expected to do more with less. So how can IT deliver the same level of quality of service that customers and end users expect when their budgets are going down, when their headcount resources aren't going up proportionately to the demand that's being put on them? That's where management systems come into play. Now, one of those other demands that I said I was going to come back to is virtualization. Everything's becoming virtualized. So that's a whole new aspect and a whole new challenge that's been thrown into IT. How do you manage all this virtualization that's occurring? We all know that it's occurring at the server and the compute layer, all right? But that poses a big challenge for IT as it is. But there's also virtualization technologies that are happening in switching and routing and security devices. From end to end in the infrastructure, there's virtualization technologies. Wow, this is a lot to get for some.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, you could have a whole office that's not in an office. You could have people that are your coworkers, and they're not even in the same country. And you could have, and they're all working on the same in tandem on the same systems. It's just an amazing time on what we can do there.
It is.
And companies can then build up their systems so they don't have to worry about budget cuts, and they can get things done on time,
right.
And they can get unification across the networks.
And you're right. It's an exciting time because these technologies support that instant on enterprise that we've been talking about, being able to burst or being able to downsize so that you really maximize your utilization and your usage of any type of given service. This is really an exciting time, but it's also challenging when it comes to managing this.
Yeah.
And that's where I come in, and that's where Netman Less comes in, and I'm addressing those challenges, talking to customers, working with customers to understand the real day-to-day challenges that they're faced with when you start to deliver these type of services in this ever-changing IT infrastructure.
One thing I brought up with Mike in the last interview, and it's very pertinent in this interview, is the fact that I used to work for state government, and in state government you had different floors, different departments that did different things, and you couldn't just go over and say, I want you to get rid of all your Cisco so you can put in HP because that's what we're going for,
right.
Because they're under a different type of funding, their budgets are different. You just can't do something like that, and it's more about working with what you got,
exactly,
and then figuring out how we can put it all together.
Exactly.
At the end,
so. Mark Fabi with Gardner wrote a fantastic, two of the best papers that I've read personally in the last year and a half. One was the most recent one, debunking the myth of the single vendor, and then a previous paper, introducing a single vendor. And in that first paper, in introducing a second vendor into an infrastructure, which he encourages, it encourages innovation. It encourages competition when you introduce a single vendor, and instead of letting one have complete dominance and impose proprietary technologies. But when you do that, he was saying one of the key decision makers and key criteria for doing that is management. All right, because management can make that transition easy. Management can bring those that heterogeneous environment together.
Okay.
And this is one of the things that we've realized as a challenge long time ago. And that's why that's one of the reasons that we built IMC. IMC supports Currently, 2,606 devices from 35 different vendors. The next release of IMC, coming out in just a couple months, we have upped that to 3,571 devices.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And, that's...
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I'd say. Wow. That's it.
I mean, right now, we got over 1,000 devices from Cisco in there.
Okay.
That's, and as they have a fair market share, that's who you encounter most when you're introducing a second vendor into an infrastructure. So that when you can provide management of not only your equipment but other vendors' equipment, that allows them to reduce their operational costs because they can reduce the number of tools that they need.
Okay. You actually answered the next question I have and I've been asking everybody what's a good book, a good white paper or something like that, but you've already talked about this. Is there anything else, good reading that somebody should be looking at?
We have a few white papers. Tell you what, hit me up at NetmanLess, and I will fire you off the URL because I don't know it off the top of my head.
That's okay. That's okay. So, all right. Well, Les, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks again,
Always a pleasure. We will
Yes.
see you next time.
You bet.
There you go. If you're trying to put together your networks, if you're trying to figure out what you're going to do, trying to get into this future of network management, this is what you got to do. It's right here. And talk to Les, NetmanLess.
NetmanLess.
So, HP Discover. We got more interviews coming very, very soon, so stick around. We've got a whole day. We've got tomorrow. We've got so much more. Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine and the Tech Podcast Network. Just stick around. We'll show you some Blogger Lounge in the meantime. So take care. Geekazine's special coverage of HP Discover 2011 is brought to you by Iolo System Mechanic. Go over and use the code Geekazine for up to 50% off System Mechanic 10. And Wirecast. Produce all your video straight from your computer right to the internet with Wirecast. Go over to geekazine.com and click on the link. Of course, Geekazine is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. Over at techpodcast.com. If it's tech, then it's here.